Alpine Meadows is a stunning ski resort known for quiet steeps and awesome terrain. The resort opened in 1961 with just 3 lifts for its first snowy season, and has since pushed itself on the map as a well-defined ski area. This video covers chairlift history at Alpine Meadows, where the lift started, where they are now, and everything in between. If you like this video or have any cool facts you want to share about the resort, drop a message down in the comments. And if this turns out well, I'll make a similar video about the neighboring Olympic, also known as Squaw Valley / Palisades side. Number 1. Summit. Not originally known by the name Summit, this chairlift was originally called Plane 1. When it was first installed in 1961, it was a double chair manufactured by Riblet. The early lift had a trapezoid-shaped base structure that protected the bottom terminal. Sometime around 1970, the lift was renamed to Summit, as can be seen from the maps. In 1975, lift engineering, more commonly known as Yan, upgraded the lift. More Yan lifts would spring up throughout the resort in later years as well. The 1982 Alpine Meadows avalanche destroyed the base structure that enclosed the bottom of the Riblet Summit chair. Despite getting buried in parts, much of the chair survived and continued operating until its replacement 7 years later in 1989. That year, the Summit lift was renamed to the unpopular name of AM Express. This new lift was a Yan high-speed detachable quad chair. If you know anything about Yan, you know where this story will end. The lift lasted only 7 years when the U.S. Forest Service forced Alpine to remove the lift. This was because a series of accidents and failures with Yan high-speed quads in the U.S. and Canada caused many injuries and deaths, ultimately rendering the lift type to be unsafe. Luckily, Alpine Meadows had no accidents with the AM Express and only had one Yan high-speed quad. Other resorts were not fortunate and had to replace numerous lifts. Some weren't able to survive the financial impact that it brought. To this day, photos of Yan high-speed quads are quite hard to find, and I was not able to find a photo of AM Express. Although they might have looked cool, the Yan high-speed quads did not end with a cool history. Doppelmayr replaced the Yan lift, and the name Summit 6 was born. This new, slick, high-speed six-pack was pretty advanced for its time, as there weren't many similar lifts throughout the mid-90s. It's also worth noting that the masts for the top terminal of the lift were most likely reused from the Yan high-speed quad, probably in order to save on costs. Sometime after 2010, the name Summit 6 was dropped and the lift was renamed to Summit. It has also received some upgrades in recent years, like a new paint job and a wooden wall in 2019. Summit gives access to tons of terrain that keeps skiers at Alpine busy. Number 2. Meadow. Prior to Meadow's existence, there was the Little Poma. It had a slightly different alignment. The platter, of course, was built by Poma. According to various sources, it was one of the 3 lifts installed during Alpine Meadows' first season in 1961. There is confusion that the Little Poma was relocated to be the Tiegel Poma, but this is not true. The 2 lifts actually existed at the same time throughout the 1960s, which is shown by the early Alpine Meadows trail map. In 1971, Yan built the Meadows chairlift, a fixed grip double. The lift retains much of its old Yan features like the elevated motor room and square chairs, but has some upgrades over the years such as safety bars. Still, it is the oldest remaining lift at Alpine Meadows. The 2015 master plan mentioned the replacement of Subway and Meadows as one lift. Number 3. Kangaroo. In 1961, Poma installed a 1,650-foot-long platter lift that would be appropriately named Big Poma. It was said that Big Poma had somewhat of a rocket takeoff, and numerous people described that, as children, they would go airborne loading the lift. The terrain zone known as Poma Rocks that lies below Estelle Lake was named after the Big Poma. In 1975, Yan replaced the platter with a double chair that was named Kangaroo. When it was installed, it was the first chairlift at Alpine Meadows to have a bull wheel on load. All the other lifts have separate returns similar to Meadows' chairlift. Kangaroo chair was named after the Kangaroo kicker, which is now called Kangaroo goalie. People would ski down the goalie and jump off the lift, which imitated a kangaroo jumping. In the 1980s, there were ideas to add grass skiing by seating Kangaroo and adding an alpine slide for the summertime. Kangaroo was buried by the 1982 Alpine Meadows avalanche. Luckily, it survived the disaster and continues to operate today. Through its lifetime, it has given access to a NASCAR course, various race training areas, and other events like the 2008 Sick and Twisted Big Air competition. Night skiing has also been offered until 7 p.m. Number 4. Roundhouse. Roundhouse was originally known as Number 2. It was originally installed during Alpine Meadows' second season in 1962. Like the old Summit chair, it was a double manufactured by Riblet. At some point, likely before 1970, the lift was renamed to Roundhouse. This was based on John Riley's, the resort founder's, idea of a restaurant on the backside of KT-22, which he envisioned would have the name Roundhouse. Of course, nothing truly became of this idea. From around 1978 to 1980, the same lift was again renamed to Victoria Station. The chair was apparently renamed as a promotion to the Victoria Station restaurant chain, who sponsored the U.S. ski team at the time. Park City, Utah, and Timberline Lodge, Oregon made similar moves by also naming one of their chairlifts Victoria Station. The chain stopped sponsoring the U.S. ski team around 1979, and the Alpine Meadows chairlift was again renamed back to Roundhouse, after the chain began running into financial difficulties and later collapsed. In 1984, Roundhouse was upgraded to a triple chairlift built by C-Tech. C-Tech also built the Lakeview triple chair that same year. Roundhouse was again upgraded 9 years later in 1993. The C-Tech triple was not scrapped and was instead relocated to be the new Sherwood chair, which was again relocated to Lee Canyon. Doppelmayr built the Roundhouse high-speed quad, which still operates to this day. The lift offers an abundance of terrain for a rather small 954-foot vertical rise. Number 5. Treeline Cirque. This chair went through a number of changes and modifications over the years, but its overall base position on the mountain remained the same. When it was first installed in 1964, the chair was known as Number 3. It was a double chairlift built by Riblet, as all the early Alpine Meadows lifts were. During the first 2 years, it only went as far as Weasel Pass and had a mid-station near the chalet. For reference, Weasel Pass is the current mid-station of the operating Treeline Cirque chairlift. In 1966, Chair 3 was extended in order to allow for easier access to the Scott Meadow and Sherwood areas. Its top terminal was a bit above the current Rays Ruts Trail, near an area that is known as Powerline Face. If you know where to look, you can find one of the old final towers for the lift. It's painted black with the top section cut off. To me, this is definitely a hidden gem at Alpine Meadows. Around 1970, the same time other lifts at Alpine were renamed, Chair 3 was renamed to the Weasel Pass chairlift. Around 1993, according to California Environmental Quality Act records, modifications were made on the Weasel chair. It was the only chairlift at Alpine Meadows that had 2 mid-stations. After 34 years, in 1998, Weasel Pass was removed and replaced by a fixed-grip triple built by Garaventa C-Tech. This new chair was known as Hot Wheels, and only went as far as Weasel Pass, which is strange when considering that its predecessor went farther. Wheels itself originally had a mid-station located near the bottom of Yellow Chairlift, but this was removed in 2011 after it was not used for many years. Its name, Hot Wheels, was not very appropriate, as it was actually quite slow. In 2019, the 21-year-old triple chair was replaced by Treeline Cirque, a new Lightner Poma high-speed quad. The reason for the unusual name change was that the chairlift extended to the crest of Sherwood, near an area that is known as Treeline Cirque on the patrol maps. What is somewhat unique and pretty rare to see is the angled mid-station at Treeline Cirque, where the haul rope is split into an upper and lower section. To account for this, there are 2 bull wheels stacked on top of each other, with the motor driving only the bottom haul section, which then drives the upper haul. This is why, on a windy day, it's not possible to run the lower section while keeping the top section stationary. In recent years, Treeline Cirque has been given the nickname TLC. The new alignment gives skiers new options at Alpine and allows better access to more challenging terrain like Sherwood Cliffs, as shown here. Number 6. Sherwood. Originally, there were plans for huge development on the Sherwood backside in the early 60s. There were plans for a gondola that would stretch all the way from the shoreline of Lake Tahoe to Ward Canyon, a hotel, a ski lodge, vacation homes, and several lifts. There was a plan for one to reach Ward Peak and another to reach Twin Peaks. These plans would have made Alpine Meadows a true destination resort, much like its neighbors, Olympic Valley. Fortunately, this never happened, and the terrain is left as an adventure for those who seek it. Only one chairlift and the Alpine Peak subdivision were built. This chairlift, number 4, was originally known as Downward, which is a very strange name. Although it had been questioned, the Alpine Meadows National Ski Patrol website and the early map both present this to be true. Downward was a double chairlift built by Riblet in 1965. Around 1970, the lift was renamed to the Sherwood Forest Chair. At the time, it was much more difficult to get to Sherwood than it is now. The slow lift did not make it inviting either. Back then, Sherwood was a quiet zone on the mountain. At some point around 1980, the Riblet was again renamed to Sherwood Chair, which is the same name that is still used today. In 1993, the Roundhouse triple chair built by C-Tech was relocated to replace the old Sherwood double, which was actually the longest-lived Riblet chair at Alpine Meadows. This Sherwood triple chair would be upgraded with a new motor and chairs from Garaventa C-Tech in 1998. At the same time, Hot Wheels was installed. This was to support the lift that was not new in 1993. Interestingly enough, the Sherwood triple chair actually had the largest vertical rise out of all the other Sherwood lifts, topping out of 955 feet. The double chair had a rise of 954 feet, while the new high-speed quad has the shortest rise of 943 feet. To this day, you can actually see the remains of an old green shack, which may likely be the old Sherwood Volt Drive. In 2005, the Sherwood Triple was again relocated to Lee Canyon, Nevada. The chairlift is still known by the name of Sherwood and operates to this day. Meanwhile, that same year, Doppelmayr C-Tech built the Sherwood Express chairlift. This new chair was a great improvement from its predecessors and greatly improved previous ride time. Alas, especially nowadays, Sherwood is no secret and attracts many crowds and builds long lines. Number 7. Alpine Bull Chair. This lift gives off the vibe of a European chairlift. The top terminal is protected by a snow shed, or barn, as it is commonly known as. This is because, on big snow years, the lift gets buried. The snow shed acts like a shield that prevents the top of the lift from getting trapped in the snow. Riblet built the original Alpine Bull Chair in 1966, and it, like all the Riblet chairs at Alpine Meadows, was a double-seater. The chair had a vertical rise of 914 feet and had a relatively short lifespan of 14 years, whereas replaced in 1980. Yan built the new Alpine Bull Chair and was also fixed grip double. This version of the chairlift still operates today, although it may be due for replacement. When there is deep snowpack, Alpine Bull Chair gets severely affected. Crews are forced to dig out areas like Tower 11 if they want to operate the lift at all. In recent years, the chairlift has had some fickle openings with long open periods followed by long closed ones. Alpine Bull Chair has the common nickname of ABC. It provides easy access to high traverse and extreme terrain zones like Keyhole, but can also become the helper lift of Summit Express. Number 8. Yellow. In 1972, Yan built another fixed-grip double chair, which was named Yellow. During its installation, all the other major lifts at Alpine Meadows were slow, fixed-grip doubles. Yellow chair added relief to the mid-mountain area and allowed skiers to better lap parts of Roundhouse as well as access Alpine Bull Chair. In 1998, the elevated bottom terminal was upgraded to provide for more room for the Hot Wheels chairlift. This new bottom terminal was not Yan, as the company had gone bankrupt just 2 years prior. Instead, it is likely that the terminal was built by Garaventa C-Tech, the same company that fixed the Scott chair and installed Hot Wheels the same year in 1998. The chair still operates today, although there have been ideas of replacing Yellow and Alpine Bull Chair with one lift, with a mid-station where the top of Yellow currently sits. Number 9. Scott. By the 1970s, Yan had become a big provider for Alpine Meadows. In 1973, Yan installed another fixed-grip double chair, this one by the name of Scott. Previously, the Scott terrain zone had been accessed only from the Scott T-Bar, located in Scott Meadow, but that was a different lift, and the installation of the Scott chair did not affect the T-Bar. In some of the early Alpine Meadows maps, the chairlift is called Scott Chute Chair. This was likely to better differentiate it from the Scott T-Bar. In 1998, Garaventa C-Tech replaced the Yan double with a new triple chair. This version of Scott reused all the original Yan towers except for Tower 5, installed a new bottom terminal with new chairs, and modified the top station. This lift speed was also increased with the upgrade. It is truly a Garaventa C-Tech Yan hybrid. Scott triple chair still operates today and offers extensive terrain ranging from blue groomers to intense chutes. However, some of the trails accessible from Scott are not lappable, and multiple lift rides are required to get back to one's starting point. It is also worth noting that the top station of Scott sits on a narrow ridge, so installing a new high-speed lift, as people have wanted, would be a challenge. Number 10. Subway. In 1968, the subway platter was installed. It was not manufactured by Poma and was relocated from the Scott Meadow area, so it is quite likely that it was either the former Whistle Shuffle Poma or the Little Scott Beginner's Poma. The platter lasted only 11 years in its new location when it was removed in 1979. Yan installed the Subway double chair, which still operates to this day. In 2010, both the Meadow and Subway chairlifts were upgraded to include the Magnestic safety system. This system was removed in 2011 when KSL added safety bars to the lifts at Alpine and Squaw. I personally find Subway to be my least favorite lift. In my experience, it's always faster to walk up the mountain than to take Subway after a nice lunch from Mogrog. Number 11. Lakeview. The Lakeview chair was built by C-Tech in 1984. The same year, the Scott T-Bar was removed. The Lakeview chair is located farther south than where the T-Bar used to be. A few new runs were cut, like Twilight Zone and Outer Limits. The chair has a magnificent view of Lake Tahoe, which makes sense considering that it is closest to the lake. The alignment of the chair causes it to get scarred in windy conditions. In 2020, the chairs from Hot Wheels replaced the original Lakeview chairs. That's why they have Target stickers on the seats that weren't there before. Mark Fisher from unofficialalpine.com stated that Lakeview chair was the loudest lift he's ridden anywhere, and it's been like that as long as he can remember. Lakeview also offers extremely tight glade skiing and access to side country trails like Avalanche Gully and Outer Outer. Number 12. Big Carpet. Alpine Meadows currently has two magic carpets, the first one being the Big Carpet, which was installed in 2008 by Sunkid. It was originally installed to serve a tubing area on Lower Tiegel and was then moved to Lower 40 area for a year, also with the purpose of tubing. After Alpine Meadows and former Squaw Valley merged under KSL Capital Partners in 2011, all tubing was moved from Alpine Meadows. The Big Carpet was then moved to its current location in the beginner area where it is used for ski teaching. Number 13. Little Carpet. The Little Carpet was installed in 2010 also by Sunkid and operates right below the Big Carpet. It is used for beginners and teaching. Although many lifts have been replaced after their time of expiration, many have been left with lone legacies. Scott T-Bar. The Scott T-Bar was installed in 1966 by Hall. It went up to the current Mountain View Trail through Scott Meadow. The endpoint was at Leisure Lane north of Scott Peak. There was also mid-station near Summer Road. The T-Bar was removed in 1984 when the Lakeview chair was installed. In a way, it was like the old Lakeview. Plateau T-Bar. 1967 or 1968, according to some sources, Hall installed a T-bar that would be named Plateau. It started near the exit of Hot Wheels Gully and went up Weasel Run along the current maintenance road. Plateau ended to the looker's right of Weasel Pass at what is known as Contemplation Point. It had total length of 1,802 feet. The lift created serious traffic issues as skiers coming down the mountain from various trails were forced through the T-bar while it was operating. This problem was likely the reason for the lift's removal after 5 years in 1972. Lower 40 Poma. The Lower 40 Poma was installed in 1968, although it was not a Poma lift. Instead, it was a look-alike Poma platter. At the time, it was pretty common to refer to any button lift as a Poma, as that was the company that first created the lift. It was reported that Lower 40 Poma was the place to be if you didn't want to see anyone. Low crowds in the area would make sense as why the lift was removed sometime after 1990 and never replaced. If you exit Gentian Gully and venture off to the right, you can still find the shack for the old top station. Tiegel Poma. This was another button lift that was not built by Poma. It was built by a Belmont company called Tiegel sometime in the mid-1960s. The company went out of business in 1968, and the Tiegel Poma became an orphan lift. This means that the lift's manufacturer was out of business while the lift continued to operate. So if the resort wanted to repair the ski lift, they would have trouble asking for support. Tiegel Poma was located where the current Tiegel Park is. The lift was removed in 2010 to make room for a tubing area, but all the tubing at Alpine Meadows was removed the year after in 2011. Little Scott Beginner's Poma. Before the Scott T-Bar was installed in 1966, there was the Little Scott Beginner's Poma, which offered beginner terrain in Scott Meadow. It was a look-alike Poma lift, not one actually manufactured by the company. The button lift was likely relocated to become the Subway Poma or the Lower 40 Poma. Whistle Shuffle Access Poma. The Whistle Shuffle Access Poma was another short-lived Poma-style button lift. It was installed between 1961 and 1965. The lift ran up the slope known as Shuttle Cornice, which is just further down from Exeter's shortcut. The lift was installed to give access to Sherwood via Scott Meadow before the Weasel chair was extended. So, when the Weasel chair was extended in 1966, the Whistle Shuffle Access Poma was likely relocated to become the Subway Poma or the Lower 40 Poma. F-Tree/High Yellow Poma. There's evidence of an incomplete lift at Alpine Meadows that was first being built around the same time as Sherwood. The plan was that there would be a surface lift that would go from the top of Sherwood to High Yellow, around where F Tree is. It was said that an early snowstorm caused a halt in the project, and the lift was never finished by its company afterwards. Although the lift was never completed, you can still find foundation work in the area and space made for the lift. There is even an old tower left lying on the slope. This is all the information that I could find about the chairlift history at Alpine Meadows. If you like this video, leave a comment or subscribe to support more videos like this. And if this turns out well, I'll make a similar video about the neighboring Olympic, Squaw Valley / Palisades side, or even a resort of your choosing.